So at this point, I've spent roughly 24 hours with my new Nintendo Switch OLED, so I figured I'd go ahead and make a video just kind of detailing my first impressions and first thoughts of the system. Now, funny story for those of you that don't know, I actually ended up getting this Nintendo Switch for free from Temu. So this isn't a sponsored video or anything like that. They had like this weird little game thing. It was called like the hat trick game, I think. Basically, I just went on there, sent the link to like 20 people, and next thing you know, I won a free Switch. And at first I was a little skeptical. I was like, is this actually legit? Am I gonna get a free Switch? But I mean, here we are. Before we get any farther into the video, I've had a lot of people asking me like, hey, are you gonna make Switch videos? We would love to see some Switch videos, but I'm just gonna say now, I do not plan to make any first party Switch videos, so I'm not going to be making any Nintendo based content. No Zelda, no Mario, no Kirby, nothing that's first party. For normal viewers, I know you guys don't understand how monetization and copyright strikes and all that stuff work, but basically, Nintendo, for those of you that don't know, is very strict. Even making gameplay videos, just normal gameplay videos like you would do for literally any other game, is a little risky, and even that can get you copyright striked. It has happened to me before, and I'm not the only one. Like, many people deal with this stuff, whether it be getting their streams like copyright striked over on Twitch, or getting their videos copyright striked over here on YouTube. Like, it's very complicated as to what you are allowed and are not allowed to do. So with that being said, I'm not taking the risks. I'm not going to be making any first party content. That being said, I still do plan to make videos like about the Switch. Like, for those of you that watch the channel on a regular basis, you know this point, I love to make those hidden gem videos, like hidden gems for the PS3, hidden gems for the 360, hidden gems for the PS4. I do plan to do that for the Nintendo Switch, because one of the first things that I want to talk about that we'll get to here in a second is the eShop is full of hidden gems. I've spent more money already than I probably should have on eShop games. See, me, usually when it comes to my video games, I'm a physical collector. I like collecting physical media, even if it is more expensive in certain situations, because there's a lot of games on sale on here. Like, the first one that I saw, for example, was Borderlands. They have Borderlands 1, 2, and pre-sequel all on sale for $10. But I also went on eBay and saw that they have it there for like $30 for a physical edition. And while for most people it might be a no-brainer to go ahead and pick up the digital edition, for me, I'm a physical collector. I think about preservation and the future of video games, so I'm just gonna hold off and get the physical edition later down the road. That being said, anytime that I come across games on the eShop that are otherwise extremely rare or just like very expensive compared to this, like if a game, for example, is like $40 to $60 any other time, and on here it's literally only like $5, obviously that's like a no-dub pickup, and I've seen a lot of those, so I've just been going through, picking up some games. And I must say, I did a lot of research on the eShop and like hidden gems on the eShop before I got the Switch, just so I kind of knew what to expect, what I could look forward to. But as I've been browsing the eShop myself, I did that little selection where you view games that are between like 1 cent and $9.99, and even in that like cheaper spectrum of indie games, there are so many fantastic games. And right now they have a summer sale going on, so if you have a Nintendo Switch, I highly recommend going and hopping onto that. I've been adding a bunch of games to my wish list, but man, there are so many fantastic hidden gems. I've already dropped, I don't even know how many dollars, but I've played a lot of fun games already that are just like, they're very indie or just like not as well known in general. And there's been a couple of games on here where it's like, hey, I've seen you before, and it's like, oh yeah, that used to be a mobile game. But even the mobile games that were ported to Switch, they did them actually quite well, and they work very well on the Switch. For example, Asphalt 9, it's a game where like, yeah, I've played it on phone before and I had fun playing it on my phone, but now playing it on my Switch, oh my god, it is a blast. One thing with the eShop though, I must say, is it seems like their quality check or quality control isn't up to the highest standard. I've seen a lot of games on here where I'm like, is that even a video game? That being said, like I said, there's a lot of great indie games, and I've already purchased a lot in the last 24 hours. So I will be making a hidden gems video. Probably, honestly, it might even be tomorrow's video at this point. If you have a Switch, don't sleep on those cheaper games. Games like Toki Tori, Gunman Clive, Tori 3D, Tori 2, Super Kiwi 64. I had a lot of fun playing that one. There's tons of great games that you can get on the cheap, and a lot of like underrated, like little hidden gems there in the eShop. So I'll definitely be making a video on that very soon. One thing I wanted to highlight is I ended up downloading Postal Redux because they had it for $3.24. If you're not old enough to remember Postal, I mean, it's on sale right now for $3. I mean, you owe it to yourself to go and play, but for those of you that are old enough like me to remember Postal, man, that game was great, and I am so excited to dive into it on the Switch. I should have taken some notes before making this video, because I can already feel I'm all over the place. I am so in love with this console so far. Let's go ahead and talk about Nintendo Switch Online. So I signed up for a 7-day trial, because I know if I get the expansion pack, I get all access to all the other things, but I wanted to do the trial first just so I could kind of dip my toes in the water with the NES and the SNES and the Game Boy, and once my trial runs out, I am going to be buying the expansion pack, because I want access to all these different DLCs for like Mario Kart, and I want the Nintendo 64 and Game Boy Advance. I grew up on a lot lot of Game Boy Advance games, so I'm really looking forward to diving in and seeing how those play on the Nintendo Switch. But, you know, if the NES, SNES, and Game Boy are anything to go off of, I know my experience is going to be nothing less than absolutely phenomenal. I also saw they have, like, Sega Genesis games on there, which is awesome. If we ever get GameCube games, honestly, I don't even care if they have to make it, like, an additional, more expensive tier for it. I would buy that immediately. That being said, like, I don't know if it's necessarily called the Virtual Console on the Switch, but oh my gosh, I am in love with whatever they want to call it. Again, I know there's no gameplay in this video, and it's literally just me sitting here talking, but again, Nintendo is so strict that I really don't know what I'm allowed to show. I tried uploading a Super Mario World video a couple of months ago, and even that got me demonetized. But one of the first things I did on my Switch was I booted up the SNES app, and I played Donkey Kong Country. See, they have a couple of modes for the video thing. The one complaint I have is the borders on the side. I mean, as you're playing, your brain kind of forgets it, but I wish there was a way to just kind of make it like normal black bars. But otherwise, like, the games play phenomenally, and they have a couple of video settings for like 4:3, CRT filter, or pixel perfect. Me, I like, even if it sacrifices video, not necessarily video quality, but like the way that it looks on the screen, I go for pixel perfect just because I like seeing the games the way that they were designed to be seen. I know there's a lot of discourse on that about that online, and just I don't even want to hear it. Okay, the pixel perfect, if you look at the games and the art style, 9 times out of 10 they look better in pixel perfect. While yes, 4:3 may be a bit more nostalgic, I can admit that pixel perfect just looks so much cleaner. There is certain games where sometimes they develop those pixels and sprites with 4:3 in mind, therefore they actually do look kind of out of whack in pixel perfect mode, but more times than not, especially on a game like Donkey Kong Country, they just overall, the aesthetic of the game looks a lot better in pixel perfect mode, even if it doesn't fill up the TV as well as 4:3 would. That being said, yeah, the games run absolutely phenomenally well, and the only thing that's like holding me back from saying that it's perfect is the borders. If I could just make those borders on the side black, then it would be perfect. The game select, oh god, there's a fly or something on my floor. Whoa, did this fly lose his wings? He ain't even trying to fly. I'll hit him with the 1-2. I mean, this shoe's kind of torn up as it is, so I guess I'll just use this. Die! You will die, I think. Maybe. Did I kill it? Oh no, you're still crawling on the bottom of the shoe. How many times do I gotta hit you? Alright, I almost got him. He's squirming for dear life. It's over, Bugman. I have the high ground! Anyway, as I was saying, I hit my tripod a little, so now it's a little off. Okay, are we good? Am I in frame? I think I'm good. I think I was gonna talk about the game selection next. I don't even remember at this point. As soon as I opened up, like, the Super Nintendo app and the NES app and the Game Boy app, I literally, like, sent a video to my mom of it just because I was like, oh my, like, look at all of these games. You know what? Give me a second. Let's go ahead and boot up the SNES, and, like, we're gonna look at this list together. Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, and 3. I mean, for me personally, I love that trilogy so much that the subscription service would be, like, worth it enough just if I could have access to those 3 games. But then you have Earthbound, F-Zero, Kirby, Zelda, Link to the Past, Super Mario World, Yoshi's Island, Super Mario Kart, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Earth Defense Force, Super Punch-Out. Like, there are so many fantastic Wild Guns. I used to love Wild Guns, man. There's Super Metroid. Like, the list goes on, and this is just the SNES catalog. Like, there are so many fantastic games here. Sure, it doesn't have the quantity of something like Game Pass or PS Plus Premium or Extra, but it has the quality. And that's just for one system. If you get the expansion pack, you have access to 5 other systems. We boot up, like, the NES. One thing worth noting is that, I don't know if you can even see it, but there's a few bubbles on my screen protector. I tried getting them out with the bubble remover, but it's just not happening. I mean, you know, I'm okay with, like, 1 or 2 small bubbles, which is really all that they are. But, you know, once I'm, like, using an app, like, as you can see, you can barely even see the bubbles. I'd rather just have a screen protector and be sure that my system is protected. But anyway, I'm here on the NES thing, just kind of scrolling through here. We got Kid Icarus, which is an absolute classic, criminally underrated series. More Kirby, Zelda, Super Mario Bros. 1, 2, and 3. Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, Yoshi, Ghouls and Ghosts, Double Dragon. Oh my god, they have Double Dragon. Dude, there is no way they actually have Double Dragon on here. Dig Dug, dude, I can't get over Double Dragon. I love Double Dragon so much. I did not even realize that that game was on here. Dude, I know what I'm doing after this video. We got the OG Donkey Kong games, Dr. Mario, Excite Bike. Like, there is so... Earthbound Begin... What? I honestly had no idea that Earthbound Beginnings was on. Dude, that is crazy. Dude, I haven't even played that one yet. I am so excited. I love Earthbound so much. If you haven't played Earthbound, please do it. Speaking of bound games, I also downloaded a game called Windbound. It kind of looks like a Breath of the Wild clone. It's like Breath of the Wild meets like a Wind Waker, kind of, sort of. I don't know. I haven't even gotten the chance to play it yet, but it actually looks pretty cool. Even though I just got my Switch, I've already played like Breath of the Wild. I played it on my Wii U. Admittedly, the Game Boy selection isn't as huge, but they still have some quality. And I mean, they just added it like not that long ago, so I wasn't expecting a huge catalog. But they got like Kirby, Alone in the Dark, Zelda, Metroid, Super Mario Land, Tetris, Warrior Land 3. So I mean, even there, those games are phenomenal. And I didn't even get to browse the Nintendo 64 or the Game Boy Advance or any of those other like libraries yet. So yeah, like, needless to say, the Nintendo Switch Online and the expansion pack are more than worth the money. Again, I apologize for being all over the place in this video. I really wish I would have taken notes. I feel like I've just been spending time talking about all these games, but then again, it's a gaming console, so it makes sense that I'd be talking about the games, right? I guess now we could talk about like the setup process and you know what that was like. In terms of setting up the Switch, it was pretty easy. You just turn it on, you connect to the Wi-Fi, you put your account in, and that's literally it. You might have a software update to do. I also went ahead and popped in an SD card. I was reading things online that you'd have to like format the SD card, but my Switch automatically did it, I guess. I put in the SD card and that was it. It worked. It was ready to go. I did like once you put the SD card in too, the games will automatically install to your SD card. Like I didn't have to go in and move anything or set anything. You put the SD card in and the games just automatically went there, which was awesome for me because for me, every time that I get a new console or PC, immediately I'm downloading games. I'm a huge game collector. I love having a huge library of games. Usually, you know, I like to have physical games. I like to collect physical games, but obviously with the Switch, it's still a bit newer than the Xbox One and PS4, so the games aren't as cheap for it yet. I have a feeling within the next couple years they're going to get a bit cheaper. I was browsing eBay and Mercari and even GameStop a bit, and yeah, the games are definitely starting to drop in price, at least some of the older titles from the Switch's library. I mean, I can't really call them older because the Switch has only been out for like 6 years at this point, but some of the titles that came out around the Switch's launch are definitely starting to finally drop in price at least a little bit. In terms of the first-party ones, not so much. Even games like Breath of the Wild still hold their value 6 years later, but in terms of third-party ones, they are finally going down a little bit. So with that being said, and considering that the Switch's main thing is portability, I mean, I never leave my room, so I'm not even going to really be using this in portable mode anyway. Like, maybe from time to time, like, once I get into Animal Crossing, because, you know, I feel like every Switch owner goes through that at some point where they get Animal Crossing, get sucked into it for a couple of months. Maybe I'll use it in handheld mode, like I'm laying in bed and I just want to play for a bit. But otherwise, 99.9% of the time, I'm going to be playing the Switch in docked mode. But despite that, I feel like it'll still be nice to at least have like a decently sized digital library just in case, you know, like if I ever end up moving or, you know, if there's ever any sort of like emergencies where I have to I don't know, maybe if I get like stuck up in the hospital for a couple of weeks or something, then I'll have my Switch and all my digital games. So my strategy at this point is kind of just like buy physical games when I can, but if there's like a deal that I absolutely can't pass up, then just go for it. And that's kind of honestly where I'm at, even with games like Borderlands. And I was just saying earlier in the video how I was gonna wait to get it physically. I'm still kind of stuck in the middle there. For $10, those 3 games, oh, that's like $3 per game. It is really tempting. And then I guess in terms of like the console itself and the way that it feels, I mean, it feels great. Like when you're playing in portable mode, it feels great. When you're using the little Joy-Con controller thing, it feels great. I'm definitely going to be upgrading to the Pro controller. It's not something that I'm in a rush to do. I mean, these Joy-Cons are just fine. They're relatively comfortable. That being said, I was trying to play games like Fortnite and Warface for a bit, and yeah, trying to aim with the Joy-Cons, like the one on the left is just fine, and I know this might be a little controversial or weird for me to say, but I honestly wish that the other stick was up here as well. It's just when you're resting your hands on it, it feels so much more natural that way versus this, where like your hands have to go in like different places and then you're holding it a little weird. I don't know. It's not that big of a deal, and really it only affected me in any way while I was playing shooters, but even then, as I was playing Warface, after like 5 minutes, I started to adjust to it. So maybe it's not even that bad. Maybe I just got to get used to it. That being said, I do definitely plan to get a Pro controller, at least at some point down the line. But again, it's not an absolute necessity. It's not something I'm rushing out to do because these Joy-Cons are more than they're actually relatively comfortable. Beyond that, yeah, I don't know. I'm absolutely in love with the Switch so far. I've already ordered a couple of physical games, at least some of the ones that aren't too much. A couple of Zelda games, a couple of Mario games. The cheapest one that I ended up finding was Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Surprisingly, even though that's a Mario game, I mean, I know technically it's like kind of an Ubisoft thing too, so it's kind of third party, kind of first party, but it was only like 20 bucks for a brand new copy, so I ordered that one immediately. I also saw that they had both the physical and digital version of the new one, Sparks of Hope, for $30 on the eShop and also $30 on, I think it was Amazon, so I definitely plan to pick that one up soon as well. That being said, I've been rambling for a while. Again, I apologize for being all over the place in this video, but if there's any takeaway from this video, it's that the Switch is great. I absolutely love it. Oh, I mean, I didn't even get to talk about the screen. There is 2 modes. There's standard and vivid. I put mine in standard just because, you know, vivid, it's really bright and it's, as the name suggests, really vivid. But when it comes to screen displays, whether it be on phones or handhelds like this, I always put it into standard mode because if you don't know how that stuff works, vivid isn't actually the authentic picture, or it's not what things are actually supposed to look like. It's just like, things are a bit brighter, a bit more saturated, but when you put it in standard, that's like what the original intent of the game was supposed to look like. It's hard to explain, and when you switch from vivid to standard, it might look weird to you for a bit, but trust me, if you haven't done it before, just try it. So I can tell you right now, trying to play a game like Fall Guys in vivid mode, oh my ass. Anyways, yeah, that's my first impressions and thoughts of the Switch. Now I'd love to hear from you guys. Do you guys have a Switch? What are your favorite games on the Switch? Is there any hidden gems on the eShop that you like? Because, you know, I know there's tons of people in the comments that can recommend stuff like, ooh, go get Breath of the Wild, go get Tears of the Kingdom, do it. But every human that exists on planet Earth, including non-gamers, know about those games. So if anything, if you're gonna be recommending me games down there, make it something niche, make it something interesting. Because again, anybody can recommend, oh, go get Mario Kart 8. That's like one of the go-to things. Everybody knows about that game. If you're gonna recommend me any games down there, because I know it's an inevitable thing, please make it some sort of like, you know, random niche indie games on the eShop, so then I have something to kind of browse through and check out. Anyways, yeah, I'm just gonna go play my Switch for the rest of the day now. Anyway, as always, a shout out and thank you to all of my patrons in the $1 tier, and an even bigger shout out and thank you to all of my patrons in the Big Baller tier, Mellow Last King, and Big Daddy Matty, and the biggest thank you and shout out of all to all of my members and patrons in the G tier, Vitamin Vengeance, and Little Cheese Crow. You guys are legends. I love you. Thank you guys for watching. Have an amazing day. Stay beautiful. I love you all. Peace.